First comic, this is really cool. She's a friend of mine. We've done a lot of shows together. She has been on Sopranos. What? That's pretty cool. And she always has a show that's regular called Dykes on Mics. Give it up for Amy Beckerman, everybody.
So I was preparing for the show and I decided to go get my eyebrows waxed this morning. You know, do something for myself. She waxes my eyebrows and then she looks at me and she's like, "I'm gonna give you a complimentary chin wax." That's not really a compliment, bitch. You know? Like a compliment would be like nice shoes. I don't know, your vagina smells fresh. Basically what she said is, "You are the hairiest Jew I've seen all week." Oh, great for me. It's been a rough week though. My parents, they would have been married 30 years this month, but they decided it's just too long and a divorce is just too expensive, so they're gonna just become roommates. Just like that. You know, when my mother's moved on, she's like, "Oh, I met a nice guy, he's a young 50. They met on Facebook. Okay, like, you know, I'm happy for her, great, you know what I mean? But here's the problem. I searched Craigslist for 3 years straight, and all I meet is an African tranny that has a sex change on a sand dune. That is the problem I have with that. But I have been dating a little bit. I have a new girlfriend. We've been dating for 2 months, but we're practically, yeah, thank you. You know, we're practically married. She lets me use her Dwayne Reed card. She's actually 20 years older than me. And you know, we were talking about like, you know, different things that she was into when she was younger. And she graduated high school the year I was born. And that was also the year that Michael Jackson came out with Thriller. Yeah, I was like, oh, so you were probably doing the moonwalk, you know? And I was just learning how to walk. Good for me. But I'm not really into PDA, I'm totally not into that at all. But I realized that I'm starting to like be okay with it, you know, holding hands in public, stuff like that. People probably think I'm just being really affectionate with my mother. You know? So my favorite show right now is Girls Next Door. Has anyone seen that show? Yeah. I love it, love it, love it. But I can't decide if I want to be Hugh Hefner or if I want to be his girlfriend. You know? Like I just can't really decide that. And my favorite episode is when Bridget, her parents come to visit for the weekend, and she like takes them into the shed to show them a striptease she's gonna do for Hef on his birthday. Like, you know, she's like jumping out of the cake with these like nipple tassels. You know, I'm like shocked. I'm like, I won't even walk around the house in a tube top in front of my parents. It's really, really crazy. I went to Florida. I just came back from Florida a few months ago. We went to visit my grandmother in Boca Raton. Hey, has anyone been there? I needed a vacation from the vacation, okay? Like, we show up at my grandmother's house, and she's like, OCD, my mother's warning me. She's like, you know how she is, just, you know, just leave her alone. She's like, listen, can you take your shoes off before you come in the house? I just got a new doormat. Like, Grandma, what is there, a doormat for the doormat? Should I don't know, like take a shower before using your soap? She lives in an old age complex called Journey's End. You think that's bad? The one across the street is called Time's Up. She's like, she's crazy. She's like, listen, I signed you up for a water aerobics class at sunrise. I'm like, Grandma, I don't even go to the gym. You know, like in my bathing suit by 4 and the pool by 5. I'm like, this is really going to be a time. I would have burned more calories eating a steak and cheese sub and flexing my Kegels. So crazy. And then she's like, I want a new cell phone. I've never had a cell phone before and I think this is a good time. I'm like, Grandma, you're 85. Is this really the time to get yourself a phone? You know, she's like, I just want to keep in touch with everyone in case of an emergency. Like, who is she, James Bond? Because if my car is flipped over in a ravine and I only have 1 bar of service, I'm not calling old Bubby. Yeah. And you can't even find the phone. It's like wrapped in girdles, in an underwear drawer, under like bubble wrap. I'm like, what? Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, I'm afraid a home burglar is gonna steal it. I'm like, right, because that's just what they want. a refurbished cell phone you get free with Sprint. Makes a lot of sense. So I'm just recovering. I recently just had weight loss surgery. Can't really tell. You know, it's called a lap band, if anyone's heard of it. I basically just saw a commercial and went in for it. They just put a band around your stomach, so if you eat too much, you throw up. It's like controlled bulimia. But how do you find a surgeon for that? You know, I'm like searching, doing research. I'm like, I'll choose a surgeon who did surgery on a celebrity that's still alive. So I chose Al Roker. Good choice, you know? Happy with that choice. And, you know, we have our meeting, the consultation. She shakes my hand. She's like, don't worry, in a few months you're going to look just like Al. Great. Middle-aged, black, and annoying. Lots to look forward to. But people ask you the craziest questions about surgery when you tell them. I told my mother, and the first thing she says to me is she's like, oh, so, how are you going to dress when you're thin? The same, it just might work. When I went home to Boston, where I'm from, and I sat down, told some, college friends, and one of them looked at me, and she's like, oh, so when you're thin, are you gonna go back to dating men? Right, seriously, I'm like, right, the less carbs I eat, the more dick I crave. Lastly, I didn't tell my grandmother. I figured, I'm not gonna worry her before, so I called her in the hospital. And I'm like, Grandma, I just had surgery, I'm doing okay, I did something for myself, it was totally elective. And she's like, Amy, did you have a sex change? I'm like, Grandma, that's so silly, I don't want to get rid of it, I just want to be able to see it. Thank you so much, my name is Amy.